So, yeah, welcome and Happy New Year to all of you. So I'll just tell you a bit about the IC. This is the flagship conference of the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. It's been held since 1956, and it's yeah. So I'll give a little bit of I'll brag a little bit about it. So I think the first 1956 IC, for which we don't really have too much of a record. The one thing we do have a record for is that Selberg's trace formula was announced during that, and it appeared that year, so in the 1956 conference, and that's Selberg there in the middle, but in later conference. And that's Ser and Zagier there in, again, one of the later conferences. And particularly relevant for this one is Ratner here. And this was approximately the time that she proved the measure theoretic version of Raghunathan's conjecture. And this measure theoretic version was actually formulated by Dani, who we are very fortunate to have as the chair of the first session today. Okay, so so we also have a tradition of bringing out conference proceedings, and so these are some of the more recent proceedings that have been brought out. Again, going back in time, about the themes of this particular conference, there is that if you can see the authors here. So Raghu Bharadhan, who's speaking tomorrow, is one of the authors here, and Strook, and there's version by Ito also. So these are some of these lecture notes that came out towards the early days of Tata Institute, and essentially what we call mini courses today. They're given over a month, and some proceedings were brought out. So this is Moster's lectures on discrete subgroups of Lie groups. And you'll see that the notes are taken by Prasad. And this led to Prasad's non-uniform generalization of Moster's rigidity theorem. There's John Stallings' notes on polyhedral topology. There's a story about his visit, which I'll probably share with you later on. Okay, so that's about the thing. And now let's say, and we've been funded by a bunch of people. So one of which is Infosys, and essentially much of the scientific organizing committee was drawn from this the Infosys Virtual Center for Random Geometry. So there's a bit of a bad pun there. It's either a random geometry center or a random geometry center, depending on whether you're a geometer or a probabilist, so depending on tastes. And so Infosys is one of our funding agents, and of course our parent Department of Atomic Energy, and we have been sizably helped by TNQ Publications, the Clay Math Institute, which has funded the travel of some of our speakers here, the International Mathematical Union, which has funded some of the domestic travel within India, and of course, the two institutes, Tata Institute and IISER Pune. And finally, I'd like to thank our host institute. This is the first time that the IC is being held outside of the Tata Institute, and I'd like to thank our host institute, IISER, for providing this great setup. And with that, I'll so wish all of you a Happy New Year.